Hey there, today I'm going to be going over creating these election signs with some fun little themes and really going to focus in on the typography and color for each one. Let's get started. So first I'm just going to add my text to each of the signs, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to start selecting fonts for each one to give them their own unique personality and feel. Now that I've spent way too much time choosing fonts, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly go over why I chose each one and what I was really going for. So for Pepperoni and Peppers, I wanted somewhat of like a rustic feel, thinking about like natural ingredients and stuff like that. For the ham and pineapple, definitely it's a Hawaiian pizza. I want it to be fun and playful. So we're going to get these ununiform edges. It's going to feel kind of bubbly and whatnot. For whiskey and bitters, obviously we're creating an old fashioned, so I want it to be a little bit more upscale, a little bit more masculine. So we definitely have this serif font with the bitters that is very light, but it has these accentuated edges. And then tequila and lime. We're making margaritas here in theory, and so I wanted to have that somewhat Hispanic Latin flair to the font, and I felt like this somewhat achieved it. Also wanted it to be bold and punchy and kind of fun. For espresso and milk, I definitely think that this one also has an upscale feel. So going with a font that has variety in the weight, so you have this really bold and yet delicate font at the same time. The italics of the font, it adds that energy, that burst of energy that you get when you drink espresso in theory. I don't know, I don't really drink it. Like the idea of it, love the smell, but you know, it's caffeine packed, and so it's representing energy in a nice subtle way. And then we have the chamomile and honey, thinking about something that is a little bit more like retro hippie like in some ways, with the, you know, like herbal tea and whatnot. And so you kind of get that with the top font, where we have what is supposed to be chamomile spelled, so I do know that that is wrong and it will be coming fixed later. And then you have this softer font as well that goes with honey. When you think of honey just like pouring, it's like bubbly, and so that kind of captures that as well. Moving into the color portion of these, I started with ham and pineapple. It's a Hawaiian pizza. I had some sort of idea of what I might want for this one. I will preface that I spent way too much time on this one, so the other ones are going to move a lot more quickly and may not have as much detail. So for the ham and pineapple, choosing a teal, somewhat blue, water-like color, and then the yellow golden, that's supposed to represent the pineapple. Next, I'm going to go in and add the ampersand and then the 2024, so we know what year these guys are running. And then I'm going to start getting in some auxiliary details. I know that I want to add a pineapple to the edge to kind of emphasize and play off of who's running. So I'm going to go ahead and get those designs going. like the way that these pineapples turned out, so I'm going to go ahead and add that rough brush stroke to the edge of the ham outline and the ampersand outline, just to kind of tie everything in together. And on to the next one. I knew I wanted there to be some red burgundy color to play off of both pepperoni and peppers. I'd considered bringing in green, but I really wanted to avoid going like full Italian or full Christmas. So I ended up keeping this one just red, black, white. I did add in a brighter red against the darker red, for like a pop of brightness, be a little punchy like the peppers might be if it's too spicy. I went back and forth on colors here so much, trying to decide what to make black, what to make white. For contrast, obviously white would be better, but I didn't want everything to be in white. So I definitely struggled with that a little bit, but finally got it to something that I was happy with. And next I'm going to go ahead and add in this little and sign. I'm going to go ahead and place it in a box just to add another design element, and I'm going to give this rounded corners to match the edges of the fonts that I've chosen. And then next we have the pineapple down in the ham and pineapple one, so I'm going to get a little flame sign. I tried this text to Vector Art Beta in Illustrator. I probably could have made this faster myself, but you know, you live and you learn. So I'm going to go ahead and just make some tweaks to this because the edges did come out a little wonky. And then I'm going to go ahead and place these symbols in that rectangle that I made to help fill up the space and not let that feel so lonely, while also giving it some more personality. I also feel like we need some sort of border to complete this, so I'm going to end up using this curved edges, that I used for that additional rectangle, and I'm going to bring in the main color, and then I'm going to just round those edges a little bit and add some more dimension. And again, playing with the colors because I can't decide. Next, we are on to tequila and lime. So, again, making margaritas. Gonna bring in the lime color. We're gonna have some fun with this. I don't know where this tea came from, but glad I caught it later down the road. And then gonna bring in a lime symbol. I tried the text to vector art beta again and just kind of ran with it. I also brought in these design elements that I used from some recent design work for Dia de los Muertos that I did, and then I'm just going to alter the colors. I kind of like this pink color that we have, so I'm going to do a green, pink, and black theme for this poster. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit those colors. And Next, when I move on to the font, I chose this font for the lime, but it wasn't exactly the way that I wanted it to be. The font above, the edges kind of flare out, and so this had the angles, but it didn't have the flare out like the font above did. So I'm just gonna bring in those edges a little bit, curve it, just to make it more in line with that. I said in lime. Oh my gosh, I did that. And then I'm just going to adjust the colors here. I'm going to play around with the outline font, bringing it in front, bringing it in back, and then be sure to add in the year and the and. I'm gonna cut that lime in half just to add it to the edge and frame that and up so it's not so spread out or lonely. And eventually add in the 2024 below it. And onto the whiskey and bitters, I wanted to capture the orangey amber color of the drink itself, and then again with the upscale serif font, and then the more masculine, slightly Western font that we have in whiskey. I'm going to add in these hash marks that are part of a font variation, and I'm going to use that later in some design elements. I had to tweak the colors a little bit because I really couldn't get it to more of like that amber that I wanted. You know, some of it felt too yellow, some of it felt too um, orange, and so just playing around with it a little bit more. And then going ahead and adding in the additional design elements. So I have the and sign that I'm going to go ahead and add in between. This one's going to be very centered and structured. And then I'm going to take the inspiration from those hash marks, and then I'm just going to duplicate those and fill in that space while also tying back to the design. I then thought about um, stitching on leather, and I thought that this would pair very well with this type of drink, and I liked the variation that it added, so I'm going to go ahead and just quickly swap that out and then finish this one up. To finish it up again with like the structure, I'm going to go ahead and provide an outline that's going to connect pretty much all the way around. It's just going to cut off with the 2024. And now on to Chamomile and Honey, the bane of my existence for this project. I went back and forth so many times with not only the fonts, but the colors and the design aspects of this one to really try to nail it. I'm going to bring this and sign in the back so that it's, sinking back a little bit. It's not so front forward. For the sign itself, I had originally thought I was going to go with something a little bit more yellow for the center of a chamomile flower, but that felt too close to the whiskey and bitters with the yellowish orangish color, so I wanted to emphasize more of a golden honey here instead of going yellow, because when you see the two side by side, it just was going to be too much. And then I'm trying to bring in some honeycomb elements or patterns. I tried quite a few different things to get this in a place that I was happy with, and you'll see how much I struggled here. Going through multiple small ones, one large one. It was definitely a trial and error, and I will say it's probably not my favorite option that I ended with, but it was definitely something that I could be somewhat satisfied with. And I needed to jump ahead because that was taking way too much time. So I'm going to go ahead and just change the opacity on these few real quick, clean up the edges so I can get a better idea for what's going on, and then move on to the next one, which is espresso and milk. I wanted to bring in an espresso bean, something nice and simple. I used that text to vector, found one that I was somewhat content with, and then just simplified it a bit more. We didn't need it looking too realistic when it was zoomed out or having all of these shadows. And then keeping a dark, bold background with some creamy, soft elements, I think pairs well for this. And then I also am going to bring in some different line art or line work, and then I'm going to end up playing off of that font weight that we talked about, where you have these really thin lines and then these really thick lines. I'm going to bring that in a bit. But after this, I'm just going to start bringing in those additional elements like the year and the and then place those espresso beans in a nice subtle way that will help accent these lines. And here's where we're going to differentiate those line weights. I'm just going to go ahead and do one vertical and one horizontal, bring the rest to the front, and make a few more alignment adjustments, and that one's finished up as well. Let me know what you're voting for. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.